What's up, everybody? It is your brother, your sister, your auntie, your uncle, your mama, your daddy, your grandma, your granddaddy, and your favorite cousin on your daddy's side, Jay Pleasant. And welcome back to the Jay Pleasant Show. Today on the show, I have the beautifully talented, a songstress, a writer. I want her to be a model so bad. She's so beautiful, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
Please welcome Tamieyah to the show.
thank you,
Tamieyah,
Jay, for
how are you
having me.
doing? How
I'm
are you
doing
doing?
great. I we relocated to New York, so that's where we are right now. We are in
I love
Brooklyn.
to see that.
I
I love
started
that.
school last week, getting my master's from Berklee College of Music, master's in songwriting and production. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hope
I
you're
love to see
studying
that.
and working hard for sure.
I love that. I love that for sure. So, we're going to get into you soon. We're going to talk about you and your career and all of Tamieyah. But before we get into
Right?
that, I have a little game, a little icebreaker for you, just to, break the ice, make sure we cool and collected over here. The game is called Pass the Aux. Okay. So basically I will be giving you a scenario, and then you're going to give me a song to where you see fits the scenario the best. Okay.
Okay.
All right, period. It's real easy, real simple. So the first one, you are on a bus sitting next to a stranger who confessed to not knowing any Beyonce songs. What is the first song you play to lock them in?
First song that I would play is probably gonna be Alive.
Why Be Alive?
I think it really showcases her vocal ability, and the writing on that song was really nice.
Hmm. That's a good one.
I
That's a good
really
one.
that song I really love. I'm not saying I'm not
Hmm.
a Beyonce fan, but I that was one that I was like,
No, that's a really good one. That's a really good song. Like the musicality of it and like the writing, like you said as well, is really, really good on that song. Yeah, I
and
agree.
even the
I think that would be a
background
good
on
song to
that
play.
song, the way she produced the song is very
Hmm.
cohesive to how her entire career, how she's always sounded. So I think
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
great catalog. It's a great piece of work to show somebody.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so you're having a parked car conversation with your new boo, and things are getting a little lit for the first time. What song are you playing to let them know it can get lit if you want it to?
Ooh. I think it's gonna be Anytime, Any Place, Janet Jackson.
Ooh, a woman with taste. I love to see it. I love to see it. Let's go back to when we first started. What was your first introduction to music? What made you, want to be like, this, I want to do, I want to do this.
Well, I started writing music really early as 5 years old. I'm a pastor's kid, so singing in church and just singing. Our house is very musical, period. All of my siblings
Hmm.
sing. Sister is also, my baby sister is in SAI at FAMU. And my parents sing, my brother sings, my other sisters
Hmm.
sing. So I just really have always grown up in a very musical household, but I always, from the time I was little, I wanted to be a superstar. Like I wanted to be Raven Simone from the Cheetah Girls my whole life. So
Right.
I really have been pursuing music my whole life. And FAMU was the best choice for me to enhance those skills. And that's
Hmm.
ultimately how I started professionally releasing music. So I was releasing things before then. And if you actually go and look on any of my like SoundClouds and stuff, you'll see the old stuff, the embarrassing stuff. But
I
it's
hate
for
you.
you.
I hate you. So you said you started releasing music professionally, when you got to FAMU. Tell me about that process and, who you met and, how you got to doing that.
Absolutely. So I went to Florida A&M for the music industry program, which at the time was, I believe, is still led by Daryl Tooks. And I met my best friends in the entire world, um, Brianne, Elias, Chrétien, DJ, Kimani. I was able to actually start my own production company while I was at Florida A&M called 7233 Roots. And under that
Mm-hmm.
company, I actually did start releasing music as well as writing music for other people on our campus and helping them to release their music as well. So super, super
Right.
dope opportunity and just really trailblazing in that sense. And I think I love how family music has evolved since then and how many people are actually taking their careers into their own hands and releasing their own stuff. It's absolutely
Right. Right. It is very beautiful. So I'm going back to the Me album. Tell us about the Me album and what that was about and also how you came about creating that as well.
so I literally I had always wanted to do an album and I didn't know what that process was like, but
Hmm.
I remember it was nighttime and the idea just popped in my head. So I called up Chrétien, I called up Evan, formerly known or Blaze,
Hmm.
B1AZE. I called him up and I was like, yo, I really want to do an album and I really want y'all to produce it. And so from there, we started this brainstorming phase, just trying to get everything together. And what I wanted to do was tell the story of my getting to that point. Because at that point, I was getting ready to graduate college. I was in a number of different relationships with people, my family, and just really experiencing life as a Black woman. And so I wanted to
Right.
document all of those experiences and encapsulate them in a timeless form. So we literally just started. I was writing every day, every day, every day, every day. And we had probably about 20 songs or more. And we
Mm.
just started consolidating and chipping away the ones that didn't really fit the theme. And at the end of the day, I wanted it to represent who I am. And it just so happens that my name is Tamieyah. So we just wanted the album to represent me fully. So that's where the name Me came from. And we wanted the sound to really reflect my life. Growing up in Texas, I'm a country girl. And then just the influences of Miami in my life, the spice, just the big and bold, do everything to the best of your ability. I think
Yeah.
I think the album perfectly, gathered all of the things that I am, my love for my family, my love for myself. No, ma'am. And it really allowed me to make a project that I still listen to this day. Like
To this day.
I listen to it. And some of the songs actually hit a lot more now than they did when I
Than it
first.
did then. Oh my gosh,
So
yes.
it was like it did some of the things didn't make so much sense then, but now it's like, wow, some of those concepts are really coming back into my life. And
Hmm.
it's amazing to me how much the album is still affecting people because people still come up to me, people still talk to me, they still send me text messages of their favorite songs. So I'm just glad
Yeah.
that people were able to be inspired by it because it definitely inspired me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And is that like one of your, I'm pretty sure it is. I feel like that's everyone's dream, but to be like a timeless artist, like, even though you didn't make the Me album 50 years ago, but it's something that, you made it a little minute ago, but people are still talking about it. People are still listening to it as if it's still brand new. So is that, would you say that's like a dream of yours, to be a timeless artist?
I definitely think my goals have changed over the years because in this type of society, people are normally focused on the metrics, on the numbers, how many streams did it hit. But I think what made it timeless for me was that people were like, listen, when I was broken, I put your album on. When I was
That's
really, really
it.
going through something, I put your album on and the pain that I could hear in your voice or just the emotion I could feel through the music, that really pulled me through something. So that for me was like, okay, this is something really special. And
Yeah.
um I may be re-recording some of them and putting out live versions to some of the songs. So
Mm.
we'll see what's going
That's
on.
that's great. That's amazing. So how important was it for you to, to make sure everything that you did put out when it from for that album was, sincere? Like you said, the pain that we heard through your voice and, being able to feel the emotions that you exuded through the album. How important was that for you?
that is everything to me. As a person who identifies as an empath, as a person who identifies as wearing their heart on their sleeve, everything that I make has to feel like it came from somewhere, like it derived from somewhere that's natural. I will never speak about or write about something that I didn't go through, that I don't understand. And so
Right.
what I wanted people to take away from it was that you're not alone in any of the things that you experience. And even, some of the more, I guess, controversial topics like, why you think I call them whenever you leave me? Like, those are things that were really happening. And it was like,
Right.
okay, so it's okay to acknowledge it. It's okay to put it in song form and to really like allow my life to speak for itself through the music, even though
Yeah.
it's not always, you know, uh, an easy thing to go through. It definitely makes it rewarding hearing how everything played out at the end of it all. So it was super, super important that everything was authentic, that we didn't cut any corners, that, the writing was really thought through and meticulous. And I think we did an excellent job of executing that with the resources
Yeah.
that we had, of course.
Yeah, you did a very, very, very good job at executing that. Like, I
Thank
feel like
you.
if I didn't know you and I didn't know, like if I wasn't a part of the FAMU culture and I didn't know like how we do things when it comes to like, creating our own stuff at FAMU, I would have thought like this,
Yeah.
this was part one entertainment level. You get what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like
wow. Thank
that's
you.
how when I listened to it, I was like, oh, this is 10 out of 10 for me. So I do want to congratulate you on that. And I can't wait to see what
Good.
else you have coming. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. So when it
Thank
comes to, anything that you put out thus far, is there anything that, not relates to you to this day, but anything that you can consider your favorite or your baby, something that you hold close to your heart?
Definitely 469 is my favorite song on the album because it shouts out my family. And I think it was the only song that was country like me and
Mm-hmm.
kind of targeted my childhood, which was what I wanted. But they're all when I tell you in different seasons, some of the songs stick out a little bit more than others. Especially with my spiritual journey with God. "Come to the Well" was a song about me basically airing out my dirty laundry to God and Him being like, "Listen, just you should have just come to me in the first place. I'm the only one that can redeem you,
Yeah.
not any of these other
Yeah.
people." So they all have a special place in my heart, but they seasonally some of the songs will be a little bit more heartfelt. "Back to You" is
Yeah.
the song that I dedicated to Deshaun Perry, who was one of the students that was gunned down at University of Virginia last year. And so every time I perform that song, it means even more to me now that it's in his honor. So all of the songs are special. They all have so much depth and meaning, and maybe I'll even do some videos on the writing of that album and how things
That
were
would be dope. That
so
would
that
be
people
so
can get
dope.
into my mind and see, what I was thinking when I was writing things, because it all has a purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, so speaking of that, we love a good segue. Speaking of that, tell us about your creative process and what you do to get into that creative mode. Because I know some people, I saw this happen before. I promise to God, I saw this girl. She wrote a song and her right hand was in the air the whole time. And that's
Oh,
the
wow.
only way she can do it. Some people, they gotta, take a shot. Some people gotta get high. You get what I'm saying? So how do you get into that creative mode for you?
I think I think my creative process has definitely changed over the years, but I'm always in a creative space. So some of those songs, like "Trip," for instance, I was
Hmm.
in Dallas at my grandmother's house in the shower, and I'm literally taking a shower, and all I heard was dun 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 dun. So I got out
Yeah.
the shower. I'm like, oh, hold on, let me record that. So I sent a voice memo to Cretty, and I'm like, this is gonna be one of the songs. I don't know how we're gonna make it work. I started recording the bass line. I started recording what I wanted the guitar to do. I just could hear it
Yeah.
all at that moment. So I was like, we got to record this as soon as we get back. This is one that was one of the songs that I really from beginning to end just could hear in my head. Sometimes it's not
Yeah.
as clear as that. Um, some of the songs on the album were way like long works in progress, but a lot of them, I'll be honest with you, were written in probably under an hour. So it was definitely God's
Wow.
information.
That's a
I
gift.
put in my
Yeah.
line in a Brewster's drive-through with Brienne in an
Wow.
ice cream, and I wrote that song in the drive-through. Yeah, so some of those songs
That's amazing.
definitely they were transcendental because they went beyond my understanding and how fast they were written. But
Hmm.
sometimes I had to sit down and have Chrétien just start playing things or just start doing things. We would invite Reggie and Kyle to the house and just figure something out until we figure something out. And so that's really my creative process is figure it out till you figure it out. If you hear it
That's
first,
amazing.
you hear it. If you don't, just keep noodling around and you'll get it.
Right, right. And has there ever been a moment where, where there was a block for you or creative block for you where because I honestly feel like what you just told me is it's like a gift from God, like being able to like hear everything and be able to do it that quickly. Honestly, to me, that's a gift. But has there ever been a moment where, where you had creative block and where things weren't coming out the way you wanted to? Tell us about that.
Definitely, there were some songs that we had to put away and give me some
Hmm.
time to really figure out where I wanted to go with that. But in general, when I have blocks, I take it as this is just not ready yet. So I have to be patient with myself and give myself some time to really understand what it is that I want to communicate. Because I always want to
Hmm.
make sure that the story feels right coming to whoever's listening to it. So it has to have
Right,
the detail, it has to have the passion. And sometimes if I'm having an off day, the passion ain't gonna be there. The lyrics not gonna be there, and that's okay. And I'll take a moment and say, you know what, it's just not happening today. Let's pray about it. Let's refocus. Let's go work on another song. Sometimes that's how it happened. I went and worked on something else, and I was like, okay, now I can get back to this.
right. You're not
So the
forcing it.
blockage
Yeah.
is gonna come. I definitely experience it a lot of times, but it's just more so not feeling like I have to be done with something in a certain time frame for it to be good. I'd rather let it marinate and let it really sit, everything gel together and make it more beautiful rather than rushing through something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and so what are some, specific things that you listen for or some specific things that you try to really exude when it comes to, your creative process? I know like a lot of people or some people are very keen to making sure their vocal stackings are T or making sure like the musicality of everything is together. So what are some of your niches that you try your best to make sure, okay, this is the Tamiya sound?
For the sound wise, I love harmony and I
Hmm.
love dissonance and I love how, with music you can make whatever chords you want. You can make the
You can
story
make it work.
with music, like with the actual
Yeah.
musicality of it. So while songwriting is definitely my focal point in every song that I write, the backgrounds are equally as important. And those melodic choices are always going to be um, a priority for me. There
Yeah.
was actually on the very first song of the album on Dirty, I was so stuck. I didn't know what I wanted to do to end it. So all I did was yeah. Like that was just how I was like, we're gonna just have to work it out like that. And I was like, well, what can we do to make it better? Let's do it in three parts. So that's what we did. Just took the same part,
Wow.
put it in three parts, and ended the song just like that. You go back and listen to it, and I bet you hear it. You hear it now.
Wow. That's dope. That's amazing. So has there, was there ever a time where you what's the word I'm trying to get out? Was there ever a time where, I know you say you had to bring things to the back burner, but was there ever a time where you thought things weren't, the way it should be, but you still produced it, and then now listening back to it, you're like, okay, well, now wait a minute, why did I doubt myself?
Definitely a few of the songs, just
Hmm.
the vocal complications that I was having. I just was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. Um, and just wanting to me being the perfectionist that I am, it was just like I was always wanting to tweak something, always wanted to change something. But we had a deadline, and eventually I was just like,
Hmm.
I just have to be okay with it. I did my best, but I can't keep going back and fixing every little thing. And even now, when I listen to it, I hear some things I'm like, if I could do it over, I definitely would do some
Hmm.
different. But I love it regardless, nonetheless. Um, I think for where we were in that moment in time, everything was just the way it needed to be. But it
Yeah.
definitely is a reminder, to give yourself a little grace, even if you are a perfectionist. All those perfectionists out there, it ain't ever gonna be perfect, but you can make it as perfect as you can.
Yeah.
Putting your heart and your soul into it. And I think that's what we did. And I say we because it really was a collective effort. I could not have pulled that
Hmm.
off without my friends, without my family, without the people that donated, that sponsored things, and made sure that we had the resources that we needed in order to execute. It was really a familial project. I feel like it was a milestone for real in my career. And I was so glad to share it with FAMU, with all of my family, with all of my friends. I feel like it was a moment for all of us to just sit back and eat and relax and just like, we did that. We really did.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, that when you were talking about grace, I feel like that's really important. I have this thing that I tell my kids at work. I work with kids, and I always tell them, I say, give yourself the grace that you would give a kid learning how to walk.
Wow.
Because when you're teaching a baby how to walk, of course, they're going to tumble, they're going to fall over, they're going to try to go back to crawling, but eventually they're going to get to that walking stage. So you got to give yourself that grace. That's
For
very
sure.
important.
For sure.
Moving
Still
on,
learning. It's
changing.
hard.
It's very hard. It's a very hard lesson to learn, very hard pill to swallow. But it comes with time, like anything. You gotta give yourself that grace. And like I said, it's gonna happen eventually. You're gonna get there eventually.
Or
So switching gears a little bit. Who is your biggest inspiration in today's music or of all time?
so I will say in today's music, I
Hmm.
absolutely love Victoria Monet's arrangement and production style. I think she is doing
Yeah,
so many innovative things that is setting her music apart in the way that
yeah.
it feels nostalgic, it feels vintage, but it's just got something to it.
It's so modern, but it's so vintage at the same time. Yeah,
It's just like the definitely the lyrical concepts are more modern, but the way she's producing this music, or her producers are producing this music, is something that feels really good to the soul. Of all time, it's always gonna be Michael Jackson. Always.
mm,
I
it's a
think
great
everything
choice.
from his ability to improvise, and to include his body in percussion, and just to put his entire being into those tracks. I think whether he was flat, whether he was sharp, you knew you were feeling everything 100% the way he wanted you to. And
Yeah,
it was a testament of his commitment to the craft, which, if I'm going to mention commitment to the craft, I've got to mention Beyonce, because she is definitely someone that I admire purely for her ability to be committed to repetition and to making sure that things are clean and flawless. It's just amazing to see how much she has
yeah.
really taken the music industry by storm by just being motivated and dedicated. So
That's
those are
it.
the three that I definitely musically have always been in awe of. Well, Victoria Monet is definitely more modern, more recent, but I grew up with that Michael Jackson, that Earth, Wind and Fire, that Stevie Wonder, like all of those
Mm,
good sounding voices packed by those good hearts. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
yeah.
where my inspiration always comes from musically.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great answer. You mentioned nothing but timeless artists, like people that we're still going to mention 60 years from now. So yeah,
Forever.
I agree with you 100%. Going back to, your time at FAMU, were there any lessons that you still, pull from today that you still, try to exude when it comes to your career today? Any lessons that you learned at FAM?
Get the business straight.
Yeah. Tell the people what you mean by that.
I had a number of experiences that I am sworn to keep disclosed because of
Mm-hmm.
the person's identity. But let me tell you, anybody that is watching, if you are an artist, if you are a poet, if you are an entrepreneur of any sort or in any art form, get the business together and keep everything
Yeah.
in writing, because you can have your word, they can have their word, but if it's not written down, it's not solidified. That comes
Mhm.
with, that goes along with payment. That goes along with what you agree to, the terms and conditions that you agree to. Make sure that you have the business straight. When you're splitting, if you're collaborating with people, make sure you get those splits together. Make sure that everybody gets their credit, so that you're not coming back on no lawsuits. Like, just make sure the business is together. And then my second lesson would be, if you love it, do it with all your heart. Don't leave a single crumb, don't leave a single morsel on that stage. Like, make sure that it just goes out into the audience, that somebody felt inspired, that somebody's life felt changed because you're pouring out. That would be my two lessons that I learned from FAMU, and that I'm still applying right now because of my time there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very important. And going to the artists that I mean going to, when you say collaborations, were there any artists that you collaborated with or any producers that you collaborated with that, taught you some lessons that you still apply today as well?
Well, one of my favorite producers, Blaze, shout out to you again, my
Hmm.
brother. I love you so much. He taught me that it's okay to be sensitive about my work, that it's okay for me to put my all into my work, and that it's okay to continue working on it years later. There's a number of tracks that we worked on. I'm sure if we get the time, we're gonna go back and fix and make them right. But definitely him, he was one of my favorite producers, still is one of my favorite producers now. And Chrétien taught me the most lessons of everybody by
Yeah.
teaching me how to stay committed to the process, because there were so many late nights that I wanted to go to sleep, that I wanted to give up, that I wanted to just, stray away from the goals that I had set. And he was very firm and like, no, you said you wanted to do this. We're going to see it all the way through. So thank you, Chrétien, to you
Yeah.
for making sure that I kept my end of the deal, because we have made such a beautiful project because of your efforts.
Yeah, and let's talk about, the staying dedicated and staying committed to the process. Talk about, I'm pretty sure, of course, you had your friends like Craig, and I'm pretty sure you had other people in your corner being able to keep trying to push you forward. But let's talk about those times when, not that you didn't have them, but where they weren't doing it actively, and you had that moment where you're like, okay. I need to get in my bed. I'm sleepy. I'm tired. I'm ready to call it quits. Talk about the moment where you had that moment where you were still able to push through. And let's talk about the commitment side of
Life
things.
definitely happens to everybody, and there are
Yeah.
always times where we don't feel confident in whatever our purpose is, or confident in whatever it is that we're supposed to be doing. And I can remember there were a few nights where it was just me, and I was like, either I'm gonna work or I'm gonna regret it later, wishing that I worked.
Yeah.
And so, it's in that moment that you got to find that inner soldier. You got to find that inner strength. You got to pray for that inner strength, Lord. Like, Lord, help me. Because right now I don't feel like doing it, but I know I'm going to really be upset if I don't do everything I could to make this what it could be. So there definitely, even still, I'm actually in the beginning stages of album number 2 now.
Period.
Officially, in order to graduate from this school, I have to have my album out. So there will be another album.
I'd
And I'm
love to see it because I was going to ask about it. I love it.
I'm already in that mode where it's like, if you're gonna see me through it, I'm gonna make sure I do my part. So
Yeah.
that comes to the late nights, having to assume roles. Like, even when we were recording the Me album, sometimes I had to engineer myself. Sometimes I had to sit at the computer. Sometimes I didn't just get to be the artist. It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into that process. But looking back on it, that's why I value it so much now, because it wasn't easy and it wasn't handed to me. It came with a lot of challenges. It came with
Yeah.
a lot of setbacks and frustrations that made it worth it, you know? So those moments come, and it's just you really have to dig deep. If it's something that you were created to do, you may not have that motivation when you wake up, but you have got to find it, because otherwise he'll pick somebody else to do it. I promise you.
That's it. It's gonna get done regardless.
It's gonna
Yeah.
get done. It's gonna get done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's real. So, when it comes to you performing live and becoming Tamieyah, how do you get into, that form? Because I know, I know Tamieyah, on and off the stage. I've had the pleasure of, getting to know you a little bit and hanging out with you and
Of course.
seeing, kind of seeing the transformation. So how do you get into stage name Tamieyah? And can you, if there is a difference between the two?
There is absolutely a difference between the two. Anybody that knows
Mm-hmm.
knows there's a difference between the two. Tamia off stage is very, very introverted. She does not like to talk. She does not like to interact. She just wants to be sitting in her room by herself with her snacks
Yeah.
and just chilling. But Tamia on stage, she's a whole nother beast. She's an animal.
Yeah.
And what actually, started that whole thing was that it was the only way that I could get that energy out, because I'm not the person that's like raise my hand to be seen in everyday life. I was like, well, at some point I got to show these people what I can do. And so
Yeah.
the stage was that place where I just felt safe enough to let everything go, whether I'm sick or angry or mad or sad or happy. It's the one place that doesn't change in terms of what it gives to me, and that's freedom. So to me, on stage, that whole process between getting a show together and performing, there's a lot of conditioning that takes place. There's a lot of things that I won't put into my body, just for the mere fact of trying to stay disciplined and trying to keep the goal at hand. I can't be up there huffing and puffing, which I have been before. So it's like, the more we elevate, I want to give people a better show every time. And that pre-show work is so vital for that. So it's a lot
Yeah.
of working out, a lot of singing, a whole lot of practicing, and a whole lot of praying for sure. So that when you
Yeah.
see me, all y'all get to see is that final product, but you're actually seeing everything that led up to that too. Because every time I hit the dance move correctly, every time I sing the note correctly, it's a result of all that practice and hard work that I put in. So that to me is the one that gives it all. And she's, the stage is very forgiving, and I just really feel like I immerse myself completely. It's one of my favorite places to be, honestly.
Yeah, that's dope. I love that. So how do you, make sure that your craft isn't, stagnant? I know you're in school now and you're practicing that way and you're working on yourself that way, but even when it comes to your creative process or even your performing, how do you make sure that you're, better than how you was before?
Well, honestly, it's a number of things. Watching old performances and kind of just
Hmm.
jotting where things could have been a little bit more seamless. Also, staying immersed in what's happening in music. Like knowing I'm not the person that's on social media a whole lot, but I do try my best to listen to new things, listen to new sounds, listen to how people are expressing themselves, and see how can I adapt that to fit the Tamiya way of doing things. And if I can't, then I stick to my good and faithful, my old true, trusty dusty methods. But
Hmm.
staying current with the things that are happening around me, because that's where inspiration comes from. I literally could walk to the park and hear something that would inspire a whole nother song. And
Yeah.
it's important to stay a student always. Stay a student always. You'll never master anything because you're always learning and constantly growing. One of the things that I've been working on recently is retraining my ears again. So I'm doing these YouTube videos, these 1 hour YouTube trainings on matching pitch and naming chords so that I can stay at the top of my game. So when I'm working with producers or I'm working with professionals, I know how to be, at the top of my caliber when I'm in those settings. So it's just
Yeah.
important to stay that way. If you love it, keep studying, keep learning all there is to learn, all there is to know. The industry is changing every single day.
Yeah, and I think that's the key to really, being a timeless artist. If you look at, Beyonce's career and the longevity of there's not really, too many albums that you can listen to and be like, this sounds like the previous album. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So I really think she really mastered the whole staying current in today's music. So I think that's really
And
the key
still
to being
delivering what you
timeless.
want. She could, because she was able to still provide us with the sound that she wanted, you know,
Right.
but still staying with how music was moving at the time. So I think
Yeah.
that's when something is timeless, when it's with the time, but also does its own thing at the same time. So it's
Right.
music is so subjective, and there's a million and one ways to do the same thing, and there's one way to do a million different things. So, you know,
Yeah.
you can make it what you want to make it, and it's really up to you. I just know the level that I want to be at, the level that I continue to work towards involves just constantly learning. So that's
Hmm.
the key. Always be learning. Don't think you know everything, because you don't.
That's it. That's the one. I got a couple more questions for you, and I'm gonna get out your hair, girl.
I'm having
If you
a
could
great
talk to
time.
your, if you could talk to your younger self, what would you tell her in regards of where you are now in your career?
I would tell her, keep your eyes forward. Don't look at what everybody else is doing, the pace that they're moving at, what it
Yeah.
seems like they have. Keep your eyes forward and keep moving forward. I think younger Tamieyah was just wanting to be accepted by everybody, wanting to please everybody, wanting to make sure
Yeah.
she wasn't stepping on any toes or shining her light too bright to where it was offending other people. And as a result of that came a lot of people pleasing, came a lot of stagnancy, because I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to make these people upset. I know what I can do, but I know if I come in here and do it to the best of my ability, it's going to upset some people. And
Right.
so I would tell her, keep yourself focused, girl, and don't worry about what it looks like, because so many people are faking happiness out here or faking success out here. It's very easy to Photoshop and crop and filter and edit and all, make it look good.
Yeah.
You're not happy on the inside, and when you're not fulfilled on the inside, there's nothing you can do or there's nothing anybody else can do to make you feel that way. So I wish I would have just focused on myself. And I'm so that's what grown up to me is doing. She's fixing those things and learning how to move forward and learning how to just, hey, people are winning Grammys at a younger age than me. Okay. There are people that are blowing up overnight over TikToks. All right. I can be
Yeah.
happy for you and still run my race and still do the thing that I was created to do. And in the timing that is supposed to happen for me, I
It's
guarantee you
gonna
the door's
happen.
gonna open and nobody else will be able to close it.
Yeah. So if you can you talk about how you got to that level? Because I know for a lot of people, myself included, as a people pleaser, it can be hard to get to the level to where you are now when it comes to, the whole okay, or the level where you are right now. So can you talk about how you got there?
Well, let me be transparent and say that every day is not the same. So
Right.
as a human being, I'm not saying I don't get envious. I'm not saying I don't get jealous. I'm not saying that certain things don't trigger emotions, but there's definitely been a conscious decision on my part to live my life. The
Right.
only one person can live this life. Only one person was born with this body, with this accent, with this skin color, with this shape, with this gifting and skill set, with these strengths, with these weaknesses. Only one. So
Yeah.
I have to live my life. If I'm trying to live Jay's life, I'm gonna be unhappy because
You're speaking.
Jay's life is not my life. We have different paces, we have different skill sets, we have different lessons to learn in this life. So, really, 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 and truly, in order to get to that place, you got to acknowledge, what is my life about? What am I supposed to be doing here? Because then you won't be interested in some of the things that it seems like you can't stop scrolling on Instagram 5 hours a day, looking at a certain person's page because you envying a life that they have. That's the life they're supposed to have.
You're
And
speaking.
there's an abundant life that you're supposed to have. And you can have it if you focus on you and bettering yourself the ways that you need to be better. You can have all the things that you're supposed to have. So for me, I realized that I don't know how much time any of us have left, but I'm not going to use the time that I have left sweeping around your front door and making sure that I pay attention to all the things that you're doing and not catering or watering the plants that's in my
What me?
yard. God has given me so many gifts and talents to grow, to actually, invest into those and make them and manifest those things. But if I'm focused on what you got going on, I can't grow the stuff that I'm actually supposed to grow. I can't be a singer songwriter. I can't be a producer or an entrepreneur. I can't be a lawyer. I can't be a doctor if that's not what I was made to do.
Yeah.
Assessing myself, knowing what I love. Like I'm telling you, Jay, since I was a little girl, I've always loved singing. Like always loved
Yeah.
writing songs for people. And so now God has opened up the door for me to be able to do that. So I gotta thank him first. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord, for giving me these opportunities. And let me focus so that I can actually execute. There's a lot of people doing a whole lot of want. You can't do this, you can't do that. No.
Yeah.
Let me focus on what he says and let me do that. Let me focus on that.
Yeah. Let me clap to that. Because baby, you're speaking. You're speaking
It
now.
takes
That's
time.
real.
It takes time. It takes time to really get to a point where your life means more to you than what other people say about it. When
Yeah.
you're proud of the life that you live, when you wake up every day doing something that you know is inspiring, that you know is bringing a light, don't worry about what nobody else say about nothing. Now
As
stay in
long
check.
as you like it, yeah.
As long as you feel like you're doing what you're made to do, time is limited and we don't have a whole lot of it. So you might as well just be everything that you can be. And don't let nobody limit you, even yourself. That's another thing. Don't limit yourself by thinking that you're only X, Y, and Z. I'm not just a singer songwriter. I'm a writer. I'm a laugher. I'm a joker. Like, I'm a family person. I'm a person who loves people really hard. And it's okay to be all those things at the same time.
At the same
All of those things.
time. Yeah.
That's my philosophy. Maybe I'll write a book one day. I don't know.
Baby, okay, start a podcast, something, baby, because baby, you're speaking, okay? I love that. This is one of my last questions that I ask all of my artists. If you were stuck on an island with only 3 albums to listen to, what 3 are you picking?
For sure. Bryson Tiller, Trap Soul. I
Hmm.
absolutely love that album from start to finish.
That's a good one.
Um, let's see. I'm a Save Me album. I'm taking that one too. And
Period.
um, let's see. I guess I only got one more.
Hmm.
Let's see. Huh. You got me with that. It could honestly be any one of Michael Jackson's albums. I'll be fine with that.
Hmm.
I'll be
Let's just
good.
say his best. What he got? The top
Let's
100.
say
I think he got
Dangerous.
a top 100
Dangerous
album.
album.
Okay. That's a good one. That's a good one. So, let's talk about what's new for you? What's coming up? I know you said you're in the beginning process of your new album. Tell us what we can possibly expect from your new album or what we can expect from Tamieyah coming up soon.
I think the aura, the light that has blossomed around me is just to love on people really, really hard. So I definitely know that this is going to be an album that talks about love, the love of self, the love of others, the love of God, and just really playing with the futuristic sounds with lots and lots of harmony, with lots and lots of big and bold concepts and ideas. Definitely be on the lookout for that around the time like May, June-ish. Everything will be finished by that time. But in the meantime, I do the MIE styles on my page, which is something that I just kind of came up with because I like the idea of giving myself a time limit to write and just giving myself one take and making myself fall in line with the improvisations as they come. So that's something that I'm definitely going to continue to do. And I'll have a few performances coming up very, very soon. So you will definitely be able to see that Tamieyah in full effect. She's recovering from some health complications, but she's getting ready to come and kick some behind.
Period. I love to see it. I love to see it. You heard it here first. Well, thank you so much, sister, for joining me. I really do appreciate you. I love you. I'm glad you're here, baby. I really do love you. You know, plug yourself in, let the people know where they could find you. Give the people your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your Spotify. Tell the people where they can find you, sister.
Anywhere you want to find me, if I'm on it, it's gonna be my first name, Tamieyah, Tamieyah. And if you guys want to let me know your thoughts on the album, if you want to connect with me, if you want to know about the upcoming shows, just reach out and I'll be sure to reach back out.
Period. I love to see it. Well, listen, if you haven't already, please make sure you go give the MIE album a listen. I promise you, it's an album that you want to listen to, okay? Go ahead and listen to that. Stream my sis. Good work. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, I'm Jaye Pleasant. This is my good sis Tamieyah, and as always, I will see you in the next.
Bye.
Period.
I feel so good. I feel so good. I feel so good.